So let's add the title F. Then we'll talk about LF. And then finally, we have the else part. Now, in this case, we do have multiple options that we will select from, and we wanted to enable like our code to select from these multiple options. Select one of them. For example, let's just declare a function. The function, we'll call it renal dose adjustment. Renal dose adjustment. And this renal dose adjustment, it will take the CRCL. And if the CRCL is within a specific range, we will decide how to adjust it. How can we add or remove, or like what type of adjustments we need. So the first case, if the CRCL is greater than 60, so if the CRCL, so we are passing CRCL as a parameter. So what this function will do, let's just add something that will describe what the function will does. So we can say this function will, let's say it will return those recommendation based on the CRCL. Okay, if the CRCL is greater than or equals 60, so we'll go with the recommendation is, so it will be a string. So if it's above 60, we will go with the standard dose. So I'll go with the standard dose, no adjustment is needed. Now, otherwise, the else part. Now you can see in here that I left this the same thing. I do have two indentation. The first indentation for the F and the second indentation for the function. Now else, I do have multiple options, not else. So I do have, if it's between 60 and 30, now if it's above 60, we'll go with this. LF, it's like else and F, if the CRCL is less than 60 and above 30, but we already covered the greater than 60 in here. So we'll say the CRCL is greater than or equals 30. Now the recommendation will be reduce the dose by 50%, for example. Reduce the dose by 50%. Now let's say it's a mild to moderate impairment. Okay, now we have the two cases between, we have seen it's above 60, we will do standard. If it's between 60 and 30, and this has been covered by the LF, we'll go with mild adjustment. Now we will see if it's between 15 and 30, we will reduce the dosage by, or the dose by 75%. So we'll do the LF, the CRCL is greater than or equals 15. The recommendation will be reduce the dose by 75%, which will be a severe impairment. Now the last option, which is if it's anything else, that means it's less than 15. Else, that means if the first condition is not satisfied, the second one is not satisfied, the third one is not satisfied, we'll go with the last one, which is the else part. And then we will see the recommendation is try to avoid the drug, avoid drug at all. Avoid drug. Consider the analysis protocol. Now, once I'm done, remember that I want to return the recommendation. So I can just say return recommendation. Okay. Now let's look at the structure again. So I have F, else F, LF, LF, and then I have else. And outside of the F statement indentation and outside of the else, I do have the return value. Now I can just go and look at the values. Like, for example, I can print. Let's use the F notation. For example, let's just say the CRCL equals, for example, let's just take one value, 75. And then what we will do is we will call a function. Now let's call our function. Our function is renal dose adjustment, and then we will pass this 75. Let's call the function. Now it's telling me it's a standard adjustment. Let's declare a variable. We will call it CRCL, and we will give it a value of 45. Let's just call our function again. But in this case, instead of just using 75 in here, I'll just pass the CRCL. And the same in here, I will pass the CRCL. Oh, sorry, I have caused by mistake. Okay, so now you can see you can try multiple values at the same time. Now, let's try one more value. If we have, for example, 30. So we do have mild. Let's say we have 20. So it's severe. So you can see in here, what we have tried, we have multiple options to select from. So we use the F, LF, LF. You can add as many LF as you wish. And the last one is highly recommended to be an else part. If none of the previous conditions satisfied, you can select this condition. Okay, so let's try something else. In the next part, we will talk about, like, for example, in here, how many drugs I have, or how many patients I have, or how many CRCLs I have. I tried 2 of them. How about if I have 5 or 6 or 7 of them? Can I just keep typing them like this? Yes, you can. But how about if you have 100 or 1,000? It's very hard to go and print them one by one. So you need something that will iterate. We call it iteration. So we need something that we refer to as for loop. It's for iterations. نقولها بالعربي دوران. It's for iterations. Like, let's say I do have medications and I wanted to print these medications. So the best, or if you are dealing with list, remember the list or arrays that we talked about in the past. We mentioned that you can deal with them using this for loop. So the list itself, let's just take a list. So I have drugs. The drugs that I'm dealing with are, I do have a list of drugs in here. It's easy, just copy it and paste it in here. So I do have this list of drugs. Let's just compile it. You can print this list. And you can see I can print them, all of them as one list. So what I wanted to do, instead of printing them, I wanted to say the medication and print them one by one. So what you can do is you can use this for loop. The syntax of the for loop, there are multiple syntaxes. So the first thing is I can say D, and for every single drug in the drugs, go and print. So I'll use that and double quotation. And let's say we are saying medication, and then I'll add a colon, and then I will use this D. Now, when I compile it, let's just make this as a comment. When I compile it, it will take every single drug and print it in here. So I used, remember that I do not have any indentation before this for, but within the for, whatever belongs to the for, it must have this indentation. So let's just print something like, for example, print, we are done. So it will be printed at the end, as you see it in here. But if I leave the indentation, either tab or 2 spaces, now you see done is printed after every single time that this medication is printed. Okay, so let's try something else. Remember that what we have in here, we are trying to use this function. And this function, every time I have to type in the CRCL. So let's create a list and use the same thing. So my list in here includes the following numbers. I have someone with 75. I have 45. I have 20. I have 8. Now I want it for every single value of these values. So a list, let's just call it any name. And then for each value of them, I will go and print the CRCL and call the function for that value. So I'll use for CRCL in this list, call this function and print it. So now I can call it for every single value one by one. Now, one other usage of this for loop, let's go back to this example. So instead of just printing the drugs, I wanted to print drug number and the drug name. So I wanted sequential number. So what I can do in here, I can just say I, comma, B in the drugs. But instead of using the drugs, I can use enumerate. So the keyword enumerate, it will take I will be the index of the value and D will be the drug itself. Now I'll just say medication I, so you can use whatever variable you like. And this is the drug. Where did we start from? We started from 0. I want to start from 1, medication 1, medication 2, 3, 4, 5. One way to do this is just +1. Or you can go to enumerate, add a comma, and just use start. I want it to start at start equals 10. So I want to start at 10. So you can start it at any number, like, or you can say I want to start at 1. So this is enumerate. So enumerate, it will help you start from specific range. What's the starting point? Now, let's try to see, I wanted to print the values from all of the even values between 2 and 20. All of the even values, الأرقام الزوجية, between 0 and 20. So I can just say for I, n. Now, remember the n that we talked about. Now, we will learn something new about something called range. So if I go range 10 and convert it to a list, so list range 10, it will take all of the values within the range, the function range, and convert it to list. Now, this range, the syntax is the starting point, let's say 5, comma, the end point. The starting point is included, the end point is not included. This will give me 5, 10, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 will not be included. Now, let's say I want to start from 1. So this will print me from 1 to 10. If I wanted to go from 1 to 10 inclusive, I go 1 to 11. So this will print me 10 values from 1 to 11. So this is the starting point. This is the end point. Now list will convert this to a list so you can print it. Someone else wanted to say, okay, how about I wanted the odd values. So the odd values will be 1 plus 2, which is 3. So I print 1, I print 3. Then plus 2 would be 5, then plus 2. So every time, instead of increasing, the increment in here is 1, I want the increment to be 2s. So in this case, will be 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. Now, the range syntax now is the starting point, the end point, which is not included, the starting point is included. The default value for the increment is 2. The default value for the starting point is 0. So again, if you just include one value, that means this is the middle value. You include 2 values, that means the start and the end. If you include the third value, that means it's the step. So what's the increment? Let's take one more example. I wanted to print all of the even values. So the even values, that means I started from 2. 2 plus 2 plus 2 up to 11. So this will give me 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. Okay, so how is this useful in our case when we deal with for loop? So I wanted to print the values. It's like one number at a line. So just say for e value, just declare any variable, and the range. Now I do not need to use list. In the range of 10. So this will take me 0, 1, 2 up to 9. Then I will just say print, and you can just say print a value. Like this, a value. Value. Now you can see I printed from 0 to 9. This is the range. Now I wanted to say, like, just use the F, sequential value, and I will use the curly parentheses, close the curly parentheses and the double quotation. So the sequential value, I do not want to leave a space at the beginning. And now you can see the sequential value is 0 up to 9. The default value for starting point is 0. I wanted to start from 1, so I added 1. Now it's changed to 1. I wanted the increment to be with 2, so I just printed it 2. Now, one person said, okay, I wanted the even values without using the increment, the step. We call it the step. The third value is the step. So what you can do is you can just say F, the okay, you can use if statement, but if statement will be a little bit, it will require some calculations in here. So now the step in here, you can decide it starts from 0 or 1, and you add the increment, which is the step in here. It will decide where you want it to start from and what will be the next values. Now, let's go back to a previous example that we dealt with in the past, and it included the list. I do remember that we have visited something with a list of drug names. I think it's in here. So if I wanted to retrieve, like this is the drug names. So I do have them within a list, and my list is called drugs. So let's go to this drugs. So the first way to go and print the values we have seen, you just go and say for each item within the drug, print the values. Sometimes you wanted to go and print them as a list with length. So you can say for I, which is the counter, N, range. Now you remember that the how many values do we have in drug? So let me just see. I can just say drug in here. Drugs, print it. I do have 4 values. But how about if I have more than 4 or less than 4? I wanted to make it general. So this is what I will do. I'll say for I in the range of length. Remember, length will tell me how many elements I have. How many elements did we have? We had 4 elements. The index of the first one is 0. So the default value is 0. So we go to 0 up to the length minus 1. And now in here, I'm printing print the value of drugs, and I will use the index I and then print. So this will print all of the values one by one. Let's take one more example. Imagine that I have a string. My string, I'll just call it a line. And this line is welcome to our class. So I added a few exclamation marks at the end. Remember that we mentioned that the string will be dealt with as if it's a list or an array. So what I can do is I can do for an element and a line. Let's try this. I can go and print an element. Let's see if this will be printing the contents. I can see it takes every single element and print it on a separate line, which is every single character. Okay. Now I can deal with the list in here. Like if you wanted to have it even fancier, you can just say split on nothing. Now this will take words and print them word by word. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay, so far we know what's the starting point and the end point. So if I know what's the starting point and the end point, it's a good idea, or always it's a good idea to go with the for loop. If I do not know what's the starting point, what's the starting and ending point, I can use another statement. It's called while loop. So the while loop, from the name, we are using the while, the keyword while. For example, I wanted to create, or let's say print the dose count or the dose administered. Like let's say I do have a count and my count starts at 1. And I will say as long as the count is less than or equals to 5, colon. So you do have a condition in here. As long as this condition is true, the content of the while will keep performing. So I'll just do print, and I'll print those percentage, for example. Let's just use the F string, and then I will place in here the count. So this is my count, and then I'll just add administered. Let's run it. Now what will happen is I will run into an infinite loop. Now it will never stop. Why? Like when will this condition become false? It will never. Now I think I run into trouble in here. Now this is a case where, oops, sorry, I need to stop the execution. And this is, we call this as run. I do not know if you can see it, but the browser is running and I cannot stop it. So what I need to do is, let's try to, okay, yeah, restart the runtime. So this is an error that happens sometimes. We call it infinite loop. So I'm running in an infinite loop, and this infinite loop will never stop, and this will crash my browser. My browser is now crashed, and I wanted to restart it. Okay. So most likely I may not be able to open that page again. Okay, I'm able to open it. Now, what happened is I need to stop now. Yes. Okay. So what has happened is I'm printing those number multiple times. So I'm unable to stop this. Let me just see. I think I stopped sharing. Okay. Now, why this has happened? Because I'm not modifying the condition in here to make it stop. So what I need to do in here, I can just say count, increment the count by 1. So count equals count plus 1. I can run it. It will run 4 times or 5 times. Or I can write it like this, count plus equals 1. This is equivalent to the top one. Means count plus equals 1. It means count equals count plus 1. Remember that there is no space between the plus and equals. So this is one example. So you have seen the infinite loop. The infinite loop, that the condition that's within the while loop never being satisfied. So I can print also one sentence. Print complete. So this is outside of the while loop, and it will be printed. Let's see. For example, we can create, let's see another example. I do have the dose and milligram, and let's say it's 5. I have the target, it's 20. I have the step that I'm increasing, 2.5. So I wanted to do sort of simulation. I wanted to see the best range for my patient treatment. So this is our print. We started. So this is before the while loop. And within the while loop, as long as the dose in milligram is less than the target, I'll keep iterating. The iteration in here, what I will do is I'll print the dose, and I will keep incrementing it. I will recalculate it every time. So we will start by calculating the dose. So the dose in milligram equals the dose in milligram plus the step. So I'm increasing the step by 2.5 until I reach 20. Now, remember that we said dose in milligram equals dose in milligram plus the step equals to, it's the same as dose milligram plus equals step. So each time I increase it by 2.5, and I wanted just to use a printing statement. Each time I increment it, I'll just print it. So the current dose is, and then we will use the dose in milligram, and we just mg, still below the target. Like, for example, what you can do in here, you can just call a machine learning model and just keep trying different values and see what would be the best value at the end. So you can print done, but before that, let's just print final, just a second, final dose, and we will print the final dose that we reached is dose in mg. So this would be in milligram. Reached the target. Now let's print. So we started with 5, still below the target, we are incrementing by 2. Now 17.5 is still less than 20, but when I go to the next one, it will be, I think, 19.5. Our target is 20, so it will stop before reaching the following one. So 20.20 is less than, is not less than 20, so it will stop at 20. If I add equals in here, now it will be, the stopping point will be 22.5. Okay, this is the final dosage. So you can see there is a space in here. I just added this by this space. I can just convert this to uppercase and remove a space. The space is gone. Okay. Now, if you know how many times you will repeat, you will use the for loop. If you do not know how many times or you're not sure, you will use the while. So you keep repeating until you reach out your destination. Any questions so far? Any questions?